Are there advantages to aging? Yes, I am Debbi-Jo Horton, and welcome to Advantages to Aging. Join my guests and I as we discuss aging and what makes for a healthy lifestyle, which results in a quality life. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to Advantages to Aging, the podcast. Today we have with us back again is Ellie Anbinder from Caregivers-WellBeing. And we had such a great conversation the last time about the symptoms and signs of whether or not you have a loved one who is headed down the path of Alzheimer's or dementia. And so we want to kind of pick up from there and welcome again, Ellie. It's so great to have you back. Great, great. So now my loved one's been experiencing the signs of Alzheimer's. How should I prepare myself for the care that they will need? We spend so much time with their doctors and whatnot to help them. What can we be doing to help ourselves? Because it is a long road.
I would suggest that initially there are 4 takeaways that you have to make sure you've done just in preparation for what's ahead. Because as you mentioned, and as I think I might have mentioned, it's a long road. It can run anywhere from 5 to 15 years. That's a long time. That's a really long time. And it's a bit of an unforgiving time. 4 things you need to make sure in your life are taken care of initially. Make sure that legally you've got all your papers in order. And that includes, all kinds of things, power of attorney, do not resuscitate orders, all of the things. And you maybe also need to talk to an elder care lawyer to make sure that legally you and your loved one and your family are protected. Families get kind of funny sometimes when it's this long range Alzheimer's thing. But if you've got all your papers and your plans in order, then that's good. Finances are another thing, very important. Should be talking with someone who is a financial planner, who has, hopefully you've been working with, but if not, you have to make sure your money is in order, because Alzheimer's is also an expensive illness. You have to make sure that your home is safe. If your loved one is at home, or your dad or mom are at home and dad or mom are taking care of the person who's been diagnosed, there are all kinds of experts who will come in and install grab bars, look at your carpet, make sure that your area rugs are pinned down, toothpaste tape, so that the person doesn't trip. Because when Alzheimer's also involves physical changes, and one of them is shuffling, one of them is, balance goes. Again, a lot of these things happen when people get older, but it's I remember saying to my husband, stop shuffling, just walk the right way. And he wasn't doing it on purpose, and I didn't understand that. And then make a plan. 4th thing is, it's painful, but make a plan with your children or with a community that will help you so you can move forward. So I would say those are the things you have to take on the responsibility of doing that right away, because I keep repeating, Alzheimer's is unpredictable. It's slow, but it changes every single day. So how do you take care of yourself?
Yes.
I'm not sure I know how to answer that question, because I'm not so sure there's enough time to take care of yourself, but it's really important, because I'm going to give you a really shocking statistic of caregivers taking care of memory impaired persons with either dementia or one of the various dementia illnesses, of which we agreed Alzheimer's is the largest. 40% of 40 to 50% of those caregivers taking care of someone pass away before their patient. And you know why? Stress.
Stress.
It's an extremely stressful job.
Yeah, so it is super important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And you're right, making sure that all those things are in order when the person still has most of their mental capacity is really key because, you know, most will start off with being of sound mind and body, and you don't want to be having any problems at the end of someone's life, not being able to take care of it,
That's
signing a
exactly.
document that they have no idea what they're signing, because that leads all kinds of trouble.
Oh, and often they're not able to sign, and their doctor won't sign off that someone who has been diagnosed can sign a legal document. So you got to be careful about that. The best way to make sure that your plans are in place are to do them in advance, but a lot of people don't do that.
No, and that's, I mean, that's excellent advice. Whether you have someone who's experiencing any memory loss or even yourself, you should have those in place. Even
That's
if you
right.
don't think you have assets. Like, I don't know how many times people have thought, well, I don't really need a will. All I have is a house. Well, that's a big asset.
Or
And if you have,
even if it's not a big asset, it's an asset. You know, it will go again.
yep.
Disclaimer: I'm not a lawyer, but
You
um,
don't
it
want to lose that just to pay for medical expenses.
and that is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of things you have to look at legally. Healthcare proxy, a durable power of attorney, a DNR, which is do not resuscitate,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. And we should all have those, because you don't know. Like, you have no idea what, when your time is up, your time is up,
that's
and
right.
you should be
That's right.
prepared no matter what. But
And
so, and we talked about, making sure that as we're preparing for this journey, that we also need to be preparing to take care of ourselves. How important is it for me to take that extra time to care for myself? I mean, you did say 40 to 50% will not outlive their patient. I mean, right there, that statistic alone should shock you into, oh, goodness, I really need to take care of myself.
it's a really complicated question because one gets exhausted from taking care of someone with Alzheimer's because none of it makes any sense. None of it. I mean, the
Yeah.
diagnosis is the diagnosis, but none of it makes any sense.
Debbi-Jo with Neora. Are you tired of having your night cream all over your pillowcase when you put your head down to go to sleep at night? Or maybe it doesn't really do exactly what you wanted. Maybe it helps with future aging, but doesn't really address anything that's already existing. Well, then you need AgeIQ Night Cream. It is going to have that mask-like consistency that won't rub off on your pillow the minute you put your head down. It's also going to create a barrier that guards against the lines that are caused by your pillowcase and sheets. It'll transform your tired-looking skin, help reduce the appearance of wrinkles, instantly tighten firm the skin's appearance, address existing and future signs of aging, all while taking the trash out. Yes, it takes out all of those environmental stressors that your skin has accumulated during the day. It gently adheres to your skin to ensure maximum delivery of all the key ingredients. Perfect for use on your face, your neck, your décolletage, and your hands. Don't forget, Neora's AgeIQ Night Cream. That's what you need.
Now, in my particular case, it was my husband. And so I lost my partner. I lost cognitively. I lost my partner. I lost the sparring, the fun, and ultimately lost the ability to be able to go out because there are a variety of physical things that happen with someone who has Alzheimer's. And it becomes such a project to go out. And then you have to make sure that you can sit in a comfortable place. And you have to make sure you're near facilities, men's or ladies' room. You have to make, there are all these details that ultimately it becomes like, oh, just stay home.
Yeah.
If people can afford it, and I say with all candor, it's worth money. You should get someone to help you in the house. People that are trying to do it all by themselves,
Mm.
It's way overwhelming. And it's very clear why that statistic happens.
Yeah, I know my significant other passed away from cancer and I was his primary caregiver and you're right, it is exhausting and there are things that he used to be able to do for himself that all of a sudden it was like, well, he couldn't do it and it was very frustrating. It was frustrating for him. It was aggravating for me because I mean
Correct.
simple things, super simple things, and you would have the tendency to like lash out because you're exhausted. You're not taking good enough care of yourself. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not eating right. And it was a hard lesson for me to learn because I'm a very independent woman, but people want to help and they have no idea how to help you. So even just having someone sit with him for a half an hour so I could go take a walk around the block just to get out, get some fresh air, give myself some space between me and the disease and spending that time realizing it is the disease and not him, because he got very aggressive.
Yes.
And so you don't want at the end to be spending all of your time beating yourself up for being human.
Well, you make an extremely good point. And I'm about to write a newsletter, which is called "It's the Illness, It's Not the Patient's Fault,"
Mm,
and in which I'm going to just into which I am going to discuss the fact that you have to keep reminding yourself when you're dealing with someone with Alzheimer's. In your situation, which I'm pretty familiar with, in your situation, cognitively, he knew what was happening, and that's so heartbreaking.
mm.
Um, I'm not sure. My husband knew something was wrong, but he didn't realize the amount of what was wrong.
Yeah, how grave it was.
Yeah. Um, you have to keep reminding yourself it's the illness. You have to try. I'll be very candid with you. People um, tend to, in my Alzheimer's experience, people tended to fade away. Friends tended to fade away. I mean, because it's not here, I have an illness and we know what the parameters of it are, we know what the outcome is. This is just ongoing,
Mm.
changes every day, you know.
And that's an excellent point. Oftentimes we have friends who are going through something like this, and it's even more important for us to step up, not step back, and offer. Even if they say no, offer over and over and over again. It took, I don't know how many months of people keep saying to me, let me do something for you. Let me do. And they would, not knowing what to do, they would do things that sometimes would just be really annoying to me. So, on both ends of it, keep asking because I mean, I would
Or
forever having people bring like these huge meals, and I'm like, he can't eat, and I'm certainly not eating all that. And they'd say, just put it in the freezer. And thank God that they all did that because, unfortunately, it wasn't. He did not survive very long, and I had plenty of food for after the funeral. So I didn't have to worry about that. But I mean, as a friend of someone who's going through it, it's so important to just be there or even just say, hey, I know he naps around this time. How about if I just come sit in case he gets up? You go get your nails done or go for a walk or just sit outside, just do something. And so on both sides, it's important to make that offer in all sincerity. And then on the other side, if you're on the receiving side, is to take them up on it. It's all they can do for you.
I agree with you that that's important. And when somebody says, I think instead of saying, what can I do? It's probably better to just show up if it's a good friend, because what could you do? Get me out of this mess. How do I solve this mess? What do I
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Um, and it was my experience that and don't, excuse me, I had two very important things I needed to say. And don't say to someone, and how are you doing?
How the hell
Because,
do you think I'm doing?
thank you. I remember a situation where some woman who should have known better said that to me, and I looked at her and I thought, I'm either going to say fine or I'm going to really tell you. And I opted to say fine because I didn't want to be in the conversation. But don't say to people, caregiver, how are you doing, Elle? Because the answer is not very good. The other thing I was going to say is show up. Just show
Just
up.
show up.
Just show up. And if you have a big lasagna, great. And if you don't, that doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Bottle of wine will do, or coffee, or whatever your friend needs. Or, I've written a speech called Tired. And the speech is simply about the fact that it's the kind of tired, and DJ, it's the kind of tired that's like you just ran the Boston Marathon. Well, I don't run any marathons. And it's just that kind of overwhelming tired that you can't go away because that's where you are.
Yeah. Now, one last thing before we wrap up. You mentioned that you are writing a newsletter. So how would people get on your email for receiving your newsletter? Can you share that?
Of course. Thank you very much for asking. If they would just go to my website at caregivers-wellbeing.com, and people can sign for my newsletter and get a sense of the mission that I'm involved with.
Awesome. And you do
Thank
have
you
to
for asking.
Sure, you do have to go check out her website. It's got all kinds of really great information in it. Ellie, this has been so informational. I know that many people who are starting down this journey, or maybe are well into this journey, are now listening or watching. You've given them hope, and
Thank you.
that's the thing that we can all share with one another is hope. And so I really appreciate you joining
DJ,
us
and I
today.
want people to understand the one important thing. It's not the patient's fault. It's the illness. The illness is dictating the behavior. And that's a hard lesson to learn.
I know.
As you well know.
I do know. And one way that I did keep myself reminding myself of that is I had this walk-in closet, was just mine, and I put this big sign that said, "It's not him, it's the cancer."
Yeah.
And people would think, why is she always in her closet? And that was it. So
that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. And then the only other thing I would say is there is so much information out there about taking care of the patient.
Yeah.
Don't forget to take care of yourself, and don't forget to write yourself notes. And as you just mentioned, that's a good idea. I wish I had thought of that. Give yourself the chance to scream if you have to scream. I mean, go where nobody will see you, but give yourself permission to understand that with Alzheimer's, you're in a situation not going to get better, and it's very, very stressful. So knowing that going in is some sort of help, I think.
Yeah. And take advantage of every moment that you have in order to do whatever it is that you need to be able to get through it. Again, Ellie, thank you so much for joining us again.
Jay, I'm so happy to talk with you. My pleasure.
And don't forget, you can catch this on Advantages to Aging, the podcast, on all of our channels, and listen to Tuesday Tips.
Do you think one of the biggest advantages to aging is all the knowledge we gain along the way? Me too. What did you learn today? Share with me in my Facebook group with the same name as this podcast, Advantages to Aging. Now hit subscribe so you don't miss all the tips to come in future episodes.